Started
All
now.
right. What is up, everyone? Corn O'Keefe back yet again, and as the title implies, I'm bringing you another collab death battle prediction, folks. Today, I'm joined by my good homies, Infinite the Jackal King. Say what's up.
What's up, everyone? Infinite Jackal King here, and thanks for having me here, man.
For sure. And last but surely not least, we have Lord Kira himself.
What's up?
What's up, man? Yeah, thanks for being back on the channel. Good to have you back. So I'm going to be going over some Iron Fist scaling, some of his skill and abilities. Kira come in and talk about Poe, some Kung Fu Panda stuff, and then Infinite to come in and give his thoughts, and then Kira and I have a little discussion, give our last final thoughts on who we think should be taking it more often than not. So starting off with Iron Fist, there's obviously a few ranges that it's easy to scale him to. One, let's start with his physical attack power. So the physical attack power of Iron Fist is obviously less, you could say, than with his chi, although there are some instances, some feats that could suggest otherwise, which I'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, even on like the normal stuff, he'd easily be multi-city block in terms of his physical attack power. This is because he can scale to all other street tiers consistently who are capable of damaging, characters like Deadpool who have multiple multi-city block level durability feats. You have Spider-Man who has town level feats. Iron Fist would obviously physically downscale from that, but he would still be in those ranges. You have large town level feats from characters. You even have city level stuff for characters. Street tier level characters in Marvel usually have multi-city block, town, and city level ranges. And I've actually leave calculations in the description below if y'all want to check them out, and some feats and scans as well. So with that out of the way, pretty easy to say he's at least multi-city block in terms of his physical attack power. Now his chi, on the other hand, this can get far higher. Now, even on the lowest of the low, like something I would actually consider pretty much downplay would be mountain level. Now, there's a couple of things, and I'll leave those calcs and scans in the description as well. A couple of things that imply mountain level for his Iron Fist. And again, it's not too bad. It is cool, but again, you could do much better. And that'd be the lowest of the low end, if not downplay. Now, there's some higher stuff, obviously, for his chi and his Iron Fist. Now, he's consistently demonstrated that he's either relative or superior to Luke Cage pre-upgrade and post-upgrade in terms of with his chi and his Iron Fist. Now, this is shown multiple times. There was an instance he was being mind controlled as well. Iron Fist was. Now, he wasn't amped, just being mind controlled. So he's pretty much like bloodlusted morals off. And he was beating the heck out of Luke Cage with chi and Iron Fist. And this was post upgrade Luke Cage. And again, even like in the pre upgrade era, it's consistent then and then. And even back then, there was an instance where he could have killed Luke Cage with the Iron Fist itself. And he also fought two androids that were capable of affecting Luke Cage and taking his hits. And now it is stated by Luke Cage, oh, he pulled his punch at first. However, in the next panel, Luke Cage says, oh, I can't pull my punches anymore. So he wasn't pulling any more punches. So he's actually exerting himself, and he still couldn't do much to these androids. And then Iron Fist destroys them, almost vaporizes them with his Iron Fist and his chi. So that's pretty impressive because Luke Cage, even back then, we've seen him fight the Thing. We've seen a more modern Luke Cage fight, and being able to damage Namor. We've seen him fight, Wonder Man, some of Iron Man's suits, tangle with them. So this is pretty impressive that Iron Fist is capable of doing this with his chi and Iron Fist. And you can easily get these characters to the universal ranges on the low end. And even if you want to go with like them being heavily suppressed, and just kind of upscaling from, the Hulk, Grey Hulk, pretty much who destroyed a meteor or an asteroid twice the size of the Earth, which is counted to be a large planet. Even if you want to say like a lot of these heralds, they're suppressed on Earth. A lot of them just kind of scale or upscale from the weakest of the weakest Hulks, pretty much, who can destroy this large planetary asteroid. That's still pretty telling, pretty good for Iron Fist and his chi. And again, that's really lowest of the low. Not to complete downplay like mountain level, I would say, in my opinion, but it's still pretty low. Again, these characters are easily universal. We've seen multiple heralds I've brought up in other videos show universal feats, universal plus, low multiversal plus feats. So yeah, there's multiple ranges you can easily get his Iron Fist and chi to. And there's also another moment I talked about earlier that I'll bring up now. Iron Fist, back in the day, he actually fought a villain known as Ninja. And now him and Ninja, they were fighting. And then the authorities, the police showed up and they started interrupting, and other civilians started interrupting. And Ninja was like, okay, since you won't leave us be, leave us alone to finish our business, I'll take us somewhere else entirely. And he took him into like a mystical dimension separate from, the reality, the main reality they were in. And at the end of the fight, Iron Fist beat him. It literally said explosion, right? The center of the universe. Oh, when that's gone, so is pretty much the whole universe. So right there, it actually said that mystical dimension they were sitting in, and they were in, it was pretty much linked to Ninja. And when he's pretty much the center of it. And when he was defeated, the whole universe, it exploded. It was an entire universe. And Iron Fist survived this as well and beat the dude connected to it. So there you go. Now, I might bring up some more AP stuff at the end of the video, but I'll go ahead and get into speed and skill, and then Kira can jump into some stuff. So in terms of speed, again, I brought this up in multiple videos. I have a video made on it. But Marvel Street Tiers, a lot of them, they consistently have relativistic up to the FTL reaction time and combat speed, right, in those ranges. And it's pretty consistent. Multiple characters have dodged Cyclops Optic Blast from close range and point blank range, like Wolverine, Captain America, etc., and Hawkeye, Bullseye, dressed as Hawkeye. There's calcs to put this relativistic. There's calcs to put it at 2 times the speed of light. There's some for Spider-Man, 3.6 times the speed of light. And again, Iron Fist can very easily keep up with these characters in combat, even while holding back, and blitz them as well. So he would easily be in the FTL ranges very easily, and he can blitz characters on that level too. And now even like really low stuff, again, there's like casual lightning time feats, but you got to keep in mind these lightning time feats are very casual. These street tiers themselves are suppressed a lot of times. They don't want to kill just anybody. Iron Fist himself is literally a living weapon, a literal living weapon. He actually makes it a point to hold back a lot and stay suppressed on a lot of characters. So that's something to consider. So easily in the FTL ranges. Now, in terms of skill, Iron Fist is a master martial artist. Shang-Chi himself literally recognized Iron Fist as a master martial artist. Shang-Chi himself, this is impressive, keep in mind, because Shang-Chi is actually a master of all forms of martial arts. And he himself recognizes Iron Fist, Danny, as a master. This is impressive because this is pretty much before one of Danny's upgrades, where after he got an upgrade, he pretty much had like all the skill and knowledge and stuff like that of the Iron Fist from the past. He had, it stated on panel, infinite death, right? Along with an infinite amount of ways to kill a man, which we know would correlate to his skill, as this would involve pressure point strikes, nerve points, and just far more complex tactics than simply tossing someone off a bridge or basic ways to kill a man. Now, obviously, it would be top-notch stuff. So, right off the bat, Iron Fist is not looking too bad in terms of skill. Now, in terms of his abilities, going over that real quick, he has obviously his chi, his Iron Fist. Now, chi, it affects you on a mental, spiritual, and physical level. And Iron Fist even points out multiple times in the comics, like he has to focus his soul, his mind, his chi, all that stuff in order to do certain things. And I'll also leave links to studies that showcase, chi, it flows through all your cells. It flows through your spirit, You have to strengthen your mind, body, and soul to do it. So right off the bat, you can actually argue with his chi, he can resist, which he has resisted mental and spiritual attacks, but you can also say he can affect you on that level as well. And it would be naturally spiritual and mental in nature. And again, I'll leave links for that. He also can absorb energy, like with his chi, literally has absorption and resurrection. He can actually use his chi to resurrect himself. It's pretty crazy. Like form his own body. He's actually used his chi to give himself form again when all the reality was annihilated, pretty much. Like it was warped, like pretty much a reality warping thing happened. And he uses chi to give himself form and break through dimensional barriers and have to go to another dimension. So pretty crazy stuff. And with this out of the way, I'll give it over to Kira. I'll let him talk about some Kung Fu Panda.
All right. So now discussing for Poe first, we have this fat panda. So now first thing I want to go over first is that based off of the first movie with Poe versus Tai Lung, where Tai Lung was basically using pressure points against Poe, since Poe and how fat he was, pressure points really did not work on them. He found them to be actually very ticklish. But now we're gonna be going over some hacks first, and then I'll go down to all the other categories. For Poe, he does have memory erasure with the flutter finger, being able to like erase people's minds. And now for this technique, it can range from like delaying like a couple hours of your memory, or even to the point it can even erase like years, like shown in shown inside the Kung Fu Panda TV show, to where basically when Poe did the Flutterfinger so many times that the Furious Five even forgot what their names were. So that's actually very impressive in its own right. Also, Poe is also above the Furious Five because basically he's a Dragon Warrior and is basically the chosen one. Another thing is that Poe has, as for like a hacks, is the Golden Lotus Clap, which is basically what that can make someone blind, and then if they do it again, it can make them unblind. But for this type of hack that Poe does, if we're going based off this in character, he hasn't really learned how to close his eyes. So even if he were to do this attack, he would be blinding himself. But Poe also has enhanced senses as well. So basically, even with him being blind, this really wouldn't affect him too much. He also has resistance to power absorption and power removal, of how Poe can basically break free of ki and chi sealing abilities. Another thing is as well is like Poe also has a lightning manip. Basically, being able to do a thunder kick. Now, something that we really want to get into really quick is where Poe really scales in AP. Now, there's very different sections when it comes to Poe and his AP. You can go through like the very lower end stuff, which is like small building, mountain level, or even you can get into like the higher form stuff, which you have the planetary and you have universal stuff. So basically, we're going to go over basically the planetary stuff. Basically, the planetary stuff comes from again from the TV show of Kung Fu Panda, to where basically there was a meteor that was basically going to come to the Earth, and basically of how Poe and the others basically put up like a giant turtle shell shield to basically like deflect it. Now also he also has the universal stuff when it comes from the spirit realm, and basically of how the spirit realm is actually described as basically like a universe in size. So now that's like for AP. Now for something else that we want to get into speed, Poe is you can easily get him to massively faster than light through his dragon form, and basically traveling through the spirit realm. Now also massively faster than light is actually kind of downplaying it. You can also get this like infinite speed to to maybe finite speed. That's one thing. And then another thing as well is that Poe also has that form, as I just mentioned, which completely amps up his power, which what I said that goes from the universal range as well. And with that form, that he has, he can do like key projections, and also actually form with his key a giant dragon. Basically symbolizing of how he is the Dragon Warrior. Now, something else I really do want to mention with this is also that with this technique, like with the whooshy finger, he actually BFRs people to the spirit realm, which and it's just basically the whooshy finger is basically he just grabs your pinky and just flicks his index finger, and then he says skadoosh, and then you go to the spirit realm. Now for the spirit realm is also a place to where it can actually power null someone. It can actually power null someone to the point to where their regular AP will just immensely just drop down, and can also seal them there as well. Now, going over that I just went over. Now, skill is something that is very important. And what I mean very important for Poe, I mean it's very important in his adaptation. Because Poe, as we saw in the first movie, like Poe literally surpassed Shifu only in a couple days before fighting Tai Lung. And we see this because when Shifu fought Tai Lung, of how Shifu was getting absolutely wrecked. He was getting absolutely wrecked by Tai Lung, and then here comes Poe after running some steps, fat ass. But after running up some steps, he actually and he fought Tai Lung, and he actually surpassed him and beat him as well, and along with the other villains in the other two movies as well. Now for adaptation, like Poe's adaptation is very crazy because he can learn techniques in mere seconds. He can just learn techniques just by looking at it and just copying it in the same way. Also from the TV show as well as the previous Dragon Warrior. Yes, there was a previous Dragon Warrior before him, and how this owl chick was basically showing him new techniques on the fly, and all she had to do was just showing him once, and then he just copied it right away and just basically adapted to it and just learned it very quickly. Another thing as well as for Poe is Poe also has spiritual manipulation as well, and he also has spiritual manipulation which he can use against his opponents. And then basically overall, Poe is actually a badass in his own right. And that's all I really have to say for. Wait, I have one more thing to say for Poe, and that's his fighting skill. Basically for his fighting skill, it's basically he's basically above all the previous warriors. You can actually argue Poe to actually be the most skilled person in Kung Fu Panda just over inside the movies, and you can even argue him to be even more skilled than Master Oogway, who has years and centuries of skill. And just listen to this. In only a few months, you can say that he already surpassed him, or even saw the first movie again, to which only took him a couple of days just to surpass Shifu out of all people. Shifu, who had way more experience, because if we saw in the first movie, Shifu was literally bodying the Furious Five and literally bodying Poe when Poe didn't even know how to train. So after all that training that he did, and only in a couple of days, already surpassed him, and surpassed him and his skill, and throughout the other movies as well, surpassing the other previous warriors as well in terms of skill. So basically, that's all I have to say. I'm gonna turn it back to Corn.
All right. So, Infinite, you want to come in, give your thoughts, maybe talk about the match, the animation, just your overall thoughts.
So my thoughts on it is that what you guys said about the characters seems interesting, especially on Poe's side. Now the animation's it's going to be good since for Poe is be custom made. It's going to be 2D, of course. I hope the voice acting is going to be good. Of course, it's not going to be Jack Black, some random dude who is good at voicing. I expect the analysis for both characters to be different from like the research you guys put in. But it just depends, like of who researching the fight. And overall, yeah, I can't wait for the episode. I just hope that the two characters got the good justice they deserve.
Heck yeah, man. Same. So I guess I'll give my final thoughts, and Kira can come back in and give his final thoughts. And then, so for my final thoughts, I do agree with Infinite. At the end of the day, I hope both characters receive justice. And going into this, when I first realized this was the next death battle, I didn't think it was entirely close. However, talking to some of my friends, other researchers and stuff, and hearing, stuff in the video here from my boy Kira throughout this past few days, I actually think this matchup is more debatable. It's definitely a lot closer than I gave credit. You can definitely argue either side. It really does depend. In my opinion, I would edge out with Iron Fist more often than not. And there's something I didn't bring up. Like, you can actually argue if you want, right? It actually isn't a stretch, because Iron Fist and all these other street tiers, especially like top tier street tiers, who probably aren't even street tiers, to be honest, you can even argue. Like, they keep up with these suppressed heralds, stuff like that, as I mentioned earlier. And you can even argue that in terms of speed would make them MFTL plus to possibly infinite, because even while heavily suppressed, we've seen guys like Thor and other heralds other herald tier characters cross infinitely large universes within a finite time, even while just like super casual while heavily suppressed. So that's something else I wanted to bring up as well that I didn't mention earlier. But you can actually argue that as well for a higher end speed scaling chain, you could say, for the Iron Fist. Regardless, he's FTL any way you slice it, whether you have it FTL, MFTL, etc., etc. So obviously, Kira brought up some similar stuff for Poe in terms of the MFTL to infinite regard. So that's, again, this matchup, it could go either way. I hope both characters get justice. I think Iron Fist eggs out more often than not. I feel like if you go with like the universal stuff for both, then Iron Fist would scale higher into universal. I feel like, if you go with the planetary stuff, again, Iron Fist has like large planetary stuff to go with. And I've seen a large planetary calc for Poe. So that could be the case as well. Poe may edge out in that regard. But as far as I know, right, as far as everything I've seen, Iron Fist likely edges out in any category you put him in, from what I've seen anyways, in my opinion. And if you go with like multi-city block, like the low end, that's closer. But then you have like the downplayed mountain level chi. So if you go with like the downplay for both ends, I still think Iron Fist edges out. But again, I could definitely understand why some would say Poe would win. It's a lot closer, in my opinion, than I gave credit. So at the end of the day, let's just hope both characters get justice. Both of them are great characters. I love Kung Fu Panda. Definitely love Iron Fist. Big Marvel fan. So Kira, I want to give your final thoughts.
Yeah, sure. Basically, my thoughts is basically that even it's like, okay, so like Iron Fist and like the Herald tiers, I know like Herald tiers holding back, for my knowledge of Marvel, like Herald tiers and Marvel just holding back is already low multi as it is, like already like low multi. And if Iron Fist is able to keep up with them in some way, you could say that they scale to him. Now for Death Battle, we know Death Battle is not going to use our research, that we just spit out. Like it's like they're not going to accept the facts, that we're basically saying, because they have contentions with it. But basically, what I have on this is I think Poe should win this, just basically because, come on, it's Poe. It's Poe. It's like, do you really think Death Battle is gonna kill Poe? But yeah, it's like I don't think Death Battle is gonna kill Poe. It's like more likely they're gonna make him win. But for me personally, I think Poe wins, just basically because that what's really keeping him here is just basically like his goofiness and his hacks as well. Like his hacks is something that's like very key in this, and all the techniques that he knows. It's like that could help him like throughout this fight, and especially with the dragon form of the power of the dragon warrior that he has. That's also a very big part in this as well, because really in that form, what I forgot to mention was in that form that basically that's basically random is basically like a key barrier that's basically protecting him. So and even though that the Iron Fist does have key barriers as well, and it's like that's something that's also there as well, because both of their abilities can neg through durability. Both of them can neg through durability. So basically, that's something that's up right there. That's really up for debate. And then going on to speed, it just depends. It just really depends on basically who's gonna make the first move first and who's basically gonna strike first. And like for both characters, we know both characters in character always hold back as well. Both of them always hold back because just basically based upon the morals of how Poe doesn't want to kill and how Iron Fist doesn't want to kill. But this is Death Battle. But either way, Death Battle should take this from an in-character standpoint at like during like their animation, during like their research, and basically say like both characters are going to hold back at first, but then but then when the threat gets serious, then both of them are going to go bloodlusted. But overall, I think Poe should win just based on the reasons I said. And that's just my thoughts.
Heck yeah, bro. I can definitely understand. I think both of them have a really good chance, honestly. I think it's definitely arguable either way. They both have stuff going for them. So yeah, Infinite, any final words? So, well, folks, hope y'all enjoyed this prediction for what it was, this collab. Go subscribe to Lord Kira. Go subscribe to the Jackal King, aka Infinite. Hope y'all have a blessed day. Say peace.
Peace.
Peace. These nuts.